Welcome to the newest episode of Beatin' and Bangin'. I'm your host, Kyle Dalton. We're back. As you guys may or may not have noticed, I've taken some time off this off season and not posted many videos, mainly because I was dealing with my mom's health. If I'm being totally honest, with all that's been going on in my life personally, I've really been looking forward to the start of the 2024 NASCAR season more than most years. Fresh start, put the painful off-season in the past. So I was really pumped up about the race happening on Sunday. But then, as NASCAR fans have grown accustomed to in recent years, Mother Nature had other ideas. Due to predicted historic rains and flooding in LA, eerily similar to what happened last year in Chicago, NASCAR made a bold call and decided to scrap Sunday's schedule altogether and move everything up to Saturday. Now, initially, I was bummed out because I've enjoyed watching the heat races and the last chance qualifier in the previous two editions of the race in the LA Memorial Coliseum. However, I totally understand why NASCAR made the decision because based on forecast, it essentially didn't look like they would be able to get the race in until at least Tuesday or Wednesday at the earliest. I know it sucks for fans who had purchased tickets for the Sunday race, but in the end, NASCAR had to think bigger picture, and to be fair, this was an exhibition race. In all the driver interviews I heard before and after the race, they all agreed NASCAR got it right. What I found most interesting was the comment and idea from William Byron before the race on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio about how he hopes NASCAR will handle these type of situations in the future. Take a listen.
Yeah, I think it's really progressive. I mean, I think it's a good start. I hope we can do that in the future too, because we've all been through the events where we stay till Wednesday, and I don't think it's not fun for anyone, but I don't think it's productive either, for ratings and the excitement on track and the build up to it. So obviously, I hope we can get in the system of maybe having a chance to flex during the week, kind of like the NFL does, because I feel like if we're able to flex the race forward sooner, we could get some people tuned in, but I think it'll be better than waiting out a rain delay for sure.
Flexing the schedule like the NFL. I love that idea. So effectively, what Byron is suggesting is this. Instead of waiting until the last minute to shift the schedule and move the race from Sunday to Saturday, which obviously isn't ideal because many of those expected to attend in person weren't able to make it, NASCAR officials could have two options available at the start of the week. And knowing what the weather forecast looked like for Sunday, could have announced earlier in the week that the race was moving to Saturday and it would air on FS1. It would have allowed ample time for the fans planning to attend Sunday's race to make adjustments to their schedule. Same for the fans watching at home on TV. It's guaranteed that some fans will be tuning in tonight on Fox and will be disappointed. Flexing of the schedule avoids all of this confusion. I really hope NASCAR considers something like this because it would help avoid a lot of headaches for fans and the teams in the future when situations like this arise. And based on what we've seen the last couple of years, there's going to be rain in the forecast. With the accelerated schedule, the practice sessions turned out to be pivotal for drivers and teams to tune on their cars and get them ready for the third and final practice session, which was also used as qualifying. In the early practice sessions, Brad Keselowski started off on a familiar bad note, struggling to find pace in his number 6 RFK car and looking like he might fail to qualify for the race as he and teammate Chris Buescher have done in the first 2 years of the LA race. Setting the pace in those first two practice sessions were the Toyotas and JGR, with Denny Hamlin, Ty Gibbs, and Christopher Bell running the fastest times. William Byron and Joey Logano rounded out the top 5. I think one of the most interesting observations during practice came from Fox's newest addition in the broadcast booth, Kevin Harvick, who talked about how Chase Elliott had gotten close to Christopher Bell during one practice session and how the JGR driver pulled over to the side to let the number 9 car go by, because he didn't want Elliott to see what line he was taking. Really good insight by Harvick. In a strange turn of events, Elliott made the main event, and shockingly, Bell did not. The driver who had made the championship for the last 2 seasons was joined on the sidelines by Daniel Suarez and Buescher, who missed out on the feature for a 3rd straight year. His RFK teammate and boss, Brad Keselowski, pulled off a miracle and qualified at the very end of his session. And reigning champion Ryan Blaney, who was on scuffs, finished 26th, but used the lone provisional available to make the field. I think the 3rd year of the Clash in LA, which is rumored to be leaving in 2025, was the best. There was plenty of passing early on, with Martin Truex Jr. the biggest mover, moving up 5 spots in the first 15 laps. 30 laps in, the top 5 consisted of Hamlin, who started on the pole, followed by Gibbs, Logano, Byron, and Kyle Busch. Gibbs, who led a race-high 84 laps, took the lead from Denny Hamlin around lap 50. The number 11 car then appeared to struggle and dropped back to 6th. When the first half concluded, Logano led the way, followed by Larson, Gibbs, Byron, and Busch. In the second half, as expected, action picked up, and it didn't take long. On lap 48, Alex Bowman started a chain reaction when he drove it in hard into the rear of Tyler Reddick, who then drove into the rear of his teammate, Bubba Wallace, who went for a spin. The 2311 racing driver noted to his spotter over the team radio that he wasn't going to take it anymore, and he didn't. More on that later. On the subsequent restart, Reddick got an early jump, got out of line, and was penalized and sent to the back. It was a bit of irony because it was just days after Reddick's fiancée criticized him for his lack of aggressive driving on the Netflix docuseries NASCAR Full Speed. Just before the 100-lap mark and on a long run, the field changed up quite a bit, with Ty Gibbs pulling out to the lead while Martin Truex Jr., who started 19th, made his way inside the top 5. More impressively, Ryan Blaney, who started dead last and 23rd, was in the top 5 as well. With 10 laps to go, Gibbs appeared destined for victory as he had pulled out to a 2+ second lead. But, as we all know, it's NASCAR. There's going to be a caution. And this one came courtesy of contact between Ross Chastain and Michael McDowell. On the next restart, Gibbs started on the inside of row 1 with Logano on his outside. Going into turn 1, the pair, which had several disagreements in 2023, raced side by side, but the JGR driver went out wide going into turn 2, sending the 2-time champion up the track and, more importantly, allowing others to get by him on the inside. Over the final laps, Gibbs challenged Hamlin before he slid up the track and lost position and was passed by Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney. Gibbs was eventually spun out with 2 laps to go by Kyle Larson, who was being pressured behind by Bubba Wallace, and those two were just getting started. In the green-white checkered overtime restart, Wallace delivered on what he had said earlier and aggressively drove into the rear of the number 5 car several times, sending it out wide on the first trip around the quarter-mile track. However, he was still unable to pass. Fox's Mike Joy noted the action between the pair and how they slammed together in turn 1 on that final lap, but the cameras failed to show it. On the final turn, Larson finished the job, shoving Wallace so hard it sent the number 23 car for a spin. After the race, which Hamlin won, Larson visited with SiriusXM NASCAR Radio about the incident with Wallace and admitted to the retaliation.
It's just another one, but it's just a listen. I got hit 3 different times by him, and it was the last lap, and I was gonna get my hit in finally. So I wasn't trying to spin him or anything, but just shove him through the corner like he was shoving me through the corner. So if roles were reversed, I would have expected the same thing that he got. So I hope he understands that. But we've had our run-ins before, but I haven't talked to him, and who knows if there's even anything to talk about.
Larson and Wallace getting off to a rocky start in 2024. and they weren't alone. Joey Logano was not happy with how Gibbs drove him late in the race and made that clear to the JGR driver, approaching him for a heated conversation at the number 54's hauler after the race. Take a look. At the end, Gibbs said he's been watching Logano do this his whole life, which is quite humorous by itself, knowing the difference in ages. But I thought the most interesting thing was what Logano said at the end: keep watching. If Gibbs has been paying attention, he knows Logano isn't afraid to pay back other drivers he feels have wronged him. Gibbs got under Logano's skin last year. What happened in the Coliseum just confirmed that these two aren't done with each other. Should be interesting to watch these two this year. One final thought about the race, and I'm going to focus on Fox and its coverage, or lack thereof. For those who followed me for the last couple of years, you understand I have been critical of Fox's coverage. I entered the 2024 season hopeful that things would change from the past, where the network has become notorious for its camera crew, director, and broadcasters not being on the same page. Unfortunately, Saturday night was no different, and it was all on full display in the final laps. As I mentioned, Fox's Mike Joy talked about Larson and Wallace slamming together on the final lap, and the cameras not showing it. The network also failed to show Larson running into the number 23 and spinning him coming out of turn 4. Instead, the only reference was Joy talking about a spinner with an unknown car spinning in the background off in the distance. It wasn't clear who or what had happened. But Fox, unfortunately, wasn't done. Seconds later, Joy talked about another incident. Watch this.
It all started on that launch.
And in the wall in turn 2 is where Ross Chastain sends Tyler Reddick.
Wow.
After the flag.
That was intense.
Incredibly, 12 seconds after Joy's initial remarks about the contact between Chastain and Reddick, the cameras briefly showed the numbers 1 and 45 cars for a total of 2 seconds as they made their cool-down laps. That was it. As I said at the opening, I've been eagerly waiting for the start of the 2024 season. On Saturday, the on-track product more than delivered with an entertaining race and an action-packed finish. Unfortunately, those of us watching on TV were painfully reminded that Fox didn't make any changes in the offseason to its production team, and there will be more frustrating coverage from the network this season. Even with the crappy coverage, I'm still excited about what's in store for 2024. I'm curious to hear what you thought about NASCAR's decision to move up the race. Do you like William Byron's idea about flexing the schedule? And what did you think about the race itself, including the late race aggressive action? And finally, what did you think of Fox's missed shots at the end? Were you expecting a change in production from the network for 2024 like I was? All right, guys, that's a wrap on this episode. Just a reminder, if you like my videos, you can go check out my written content at heavy.com in their NASCAR section. And if you haven't already, go sign up for my weekly newsletter so you can get an email delivered each week that provides you with a complete recap of the week before, including the latest NASCAR news and reviews of the various NASCAR-related podcasts. Thank you guys, as always, for supporting the channel and watching our latest video, and hope you have a great rest of your day.